I am Ethan Reynolds, a Muslim and servant of Allah. My life is guided by the principles of faith, justice, and truth. As an investigative journalist, my mission is to uncover lies and deceit, especially in the financial world, a realm rife with sin and temptation. I hold firm belief in predestination, qadar, and the day of judgment, when every soul will stand before Allah and account for their deeds. This belief is not just a theological principle for me, it is the foundation of my work, the lens through which I view the world. I see my role as more than just a career, it is a calling, a divine responsibility to bring light where there is darkness. Every article I write, every investigation I undertake, is done with the awareness that I will one day be judged for my actions. My office is more than just a workspace, it is a sanctuary. The walls are adorned with verses from the Quran that remind me of my purpose and keep me grounded. On my desk lies a prayer mat, always within reach, a constant reminder of my connection to Allah. It is here, amidst stacks of documents and the glow of my computer screen, that I feel closest to my Creator. The rhythmic hum of the office, the rustle of papers, and the occasional sound of typing are all part of the environment where my faith and profession converge. This room is not just a place where I uncover secrets, it is where I seek guidance and strength through prayer, where I remind myself that every word I write must align with the principles of truth and justice that my faith demands. Lying and deceit fill me with a righteous anger, a fire that fuels my work. I despise how greed and manipulation prey on the vulnerable, exploiting their trust and leaving them broken. The financial world, in particular, is a breeding ground for this kind of corruption, and it disgusts me. I cannot stand by while the powerful profit at the expense of the weak. To deceive someone is not just a betrayal of their trust, it is a sin, a transgression against Allah's commandments. For me, exposing these lies is an act of worship, a way to fight the pervasive darkness in the world. It is not an easy path, but it is the one I have chosen, and I carry the weight of it willingly. My approach to journalism is rooted in diligence and integrity. I spend countless hours poring over documents, conducting interviews, and hunting for evidence. This is not just work, it is a form of devotion. Truth, I believe, comes from Allah, and by pursuing it, I am serving Him. I have turned down bribes, resisted pressure, and refused to compromise my principles. My honesty is not for sale. The stories I uncover often come at a great personal cost, but I persevere because I am driven by something greater than myself. My work is not for fame or recognition, it is for Allah, and that knowledge sustains me even in the face of adversity. Though my faith gives me strength, my personal life is marked by solitude. I am not married, and I have never experienced earthly love in its fullest sense. My love is reserved for Allah, and that devotion has left little room for anything else. It is a lonely existence at times, but I find solace in knowing that my purpose is greater than personal fulfillment. I do not seek validation from others, I seek to fulfill the obligations set out for me in the Quran. This is my path, and though it is often isolating, it is also deeply fulfilling in ways that are difficult to articulate. Recently, my editor assigned me a new investigation to expose a well-known medium who has garnered a massive following by claiming to communicate with the dead. To me, this man is a heretic, exploiting the grief of others for personal gain. I see it as my duty to reveal the truth about him, to unmask the deception and protect the vulnerable. This task feels monumental, but I approach it with determination, praying for Allah's guidance as I prepare to confront this fraud. It is not just a story, it is a mission, a chance to stand against a form of falsehood that preys on the faithful. With renewed vigor, I immerse myself in the investigation. Each lead I follow, every piece of evidence I uncover, feels like a step closer to fulfilling my purpose. I pray before each interview, asking Allah to grant me clarity and wisdom. The medium's claims infuriate me. He manipulates the emotions of people searching for comfort, offering them lies instead of truth. I am determined to stop him, to ensure that he cannot continue to exploit others. This is not just about exposing a scam, it is about defending the sanctity of faith itself. After a long day at the office, I drive home, exhaustion washing over me like a tide. The weight of the investigation, the hours of research, and the emotional toll of the stories I uncover all press heavily on my shoulders. As I sit in my car, the streetlights casting long shadows across the dashboard, I feel the fatigue deep in my bones. But I know there is still work to be done, another prayer to be offered, another step to take in this journey. My body is weary, but my spirit remains steadfast. As I drive, my thoughts return to the article I am working on. Doubts creep into my mind, whispering questions I cannot ignore. Am I doing the right thing? Is my judgment clouded by my anger toward deception? I remind myself of the day of judgment, of the accountability we all face, but the uncertainty lingers. It is a constant struggle, balancing my faith with the complexities of the world around me. I know I must confront these doubts, for they are as much a part of my journey as the truths I seek to uncover. The weariness begins to manifest physically. A pounding headache takes hold, and my vision blurs slightly as I grip the steering wheel. My body is sending me signals, warning me to rest, but I push forward, too caught up in the urgency of my work to heed them. I recite prayers under my breath, asking Allah to protect me from harm and guide me through the challenges I face. The road stretches ahead, dark and unyielding, much like the path I have chosen for my life. Suddenly, everything changes. The car swerves, my control slipping away as the world tilts violently. There is a deafening crash, and then, nothing. Darkness envelopes me, thick and suffocating, as if I have been swallowed by the void. In that moment, I surrender completely to Allah's will, accepting this as another test, another chapter in the story He has written for me. I do not feel fear, only a profound sense of submission to the divine. The silence is almost unbearable, a stillness so profound that it feels otherworldly. I am suspended in this void, unsure of where I am or what will happen next. It is as if time itself has ceased to exist, leaving me alone with my thoughts and my faith. I wait, knowing that whatever comes next is beyond my control, trusting in Allah's plan for me. This is not an end, but a transition, and I am ready to face it. A strange sensation overtakes me, as if my consciousness is detaching from my physical form. I feel weightless, unbound by the limitations of my body. It is a surreal experience, yet one that fills me with an unexpected calm. I know that my life, my actions, and my faith are all in Allah's hands. Whatever lies ahead, I am prepared to face it with humility and trust in His wisdom. Looking down, I see my own body, broken and still, lying amidst the wreckage of the car. It is a strange and disconcerting sight, as though I am observing someone else entirely. I feel no fear, no sadness, only a quiet detachment, as if I am merely a witness to a scene that has already been written. This perspective is both humbling and enlightening, a reminder of the fragility of life and the eternity that awaits us all. As I drift further from my earthly form, I feel an irresistible pull, an upward force that seems to transcend space and time. It is not a physical movement, but a journey of the soul, a passage toward something greater. The sensation is exhilarating and comforting, as if I am being drawn toward a truth that has always been just out of reach. I embrace it fully, eager to see what lies ahead. The world around me transforms as I ascend, the physical realm fading away to reveal a breathtaking expanse of light and beauty. It is a place unlike anything I have ever imagined, filled with a sense of peace and majesty that defies description. There is no pain here, no fear, only the overwhelming presence of the divine. I am in awe of the splendor before me, a glimpse of the eternal that fills my heart with gratitude and reverence. I am not alone in this place. Angels surround me, their forms radiant and their voices raised in praise of Allah. Their presence is both humbling and uplifting, a testament to the greatness of the Creator. They do not speak to me, but their song fills my soul with a sense of belonging and purpose. Tears stream down my face as I witness their devotion, their unyielding faith a reminder of the path I must follow. In this sacred space, I am shown the deeds of humanity, the weight of our actions laid bare. I see how kindness and righteousness elevate the soul, while deceit and cruelty drag it down. It is a vision of the day of judgment, a powerful reminder of the consequences of our choices. I understand now, more than ever, the importance of living a life guided by faith and integrity. Among these visions, I am shown the life of the medium I sought to expose. To my surprise, I see that his intentions were not malicious. He was not a fraud, but a man driven by a genuine desire to help others. His methods were flawed, perhaps, but his heart was sincere. This revelation shakes me to my core, forcing me to confront the harshness of my judgment and the limits of my understanding. I am overwhelmed with regret for the anger and self-righteousness that clouded my judgment. I see now that I was too quick to condemn, too consumed by my own sense of justice to recognize the humanity in others. I fall to my knees, asking Allah for forgiveness, for the strength to learn from my mistakes and to approach the world with greater compassion and humility. My own life is laid before me, a tapestry of actions both good and bad. I see the moments of triumph, where my work brought justice and truth to light, but I also see the pain I caused, the times when my words wounded instead of healed. It is a sobering reflection, but also an opportunity for growth. I am given a glimpse of the person I could become, the path I must take to fulfill my purpose. Through this vision, I see the ripple effect of my actions, the harm and the healing, the despair and the hope. I am struck by the realization that every word I write, every decision I make, carries weight. My work has the power to inspire and to destroy, and I must wield that power with care and responsibility. This understanding fills me with both sorrow and resolve. For all the pain I have caused, I am also shown the moments when my efforts brought light into the world. I see the lives touched by my work, the people who found strength and justice through the truths I uncovered. These glimpses of hope reignite my spirit, reminding me why I chose this path and what I am capable of achieving with Allah's guidance. As the visions fade, I feel a renewed sense of purpose. I see now that my cynicism was a barrier, a shield that prevented me from truly understanding the world and the people in it. I must let go of that skepticism, replacing it with faith and compassion. This is the lesson I take with me, the truth I must carry forward. I am reminded that the world is not black and white, that good and evil often coexist in ways that are difficult to disentangle. My role is not just to expose wrongdoing, but to nurture goodness, to encourage others to walk the path of righteousness. This is my calling, the mission Allah has entrusted to me. As I reflect on these lessons, I understand that facts alone are not enough. Truth is more than evidence, it is empathy, understanding, and the willingness to see beyond the surface. I must approach my work with a heart as open as my mind, striving to bridge the gap between knowledge and wisdom. In this divine realm, I see the interconnectedness of all things. Humanity is a single thread woven into the fabric of creation, each life affecting countless others. This realization humbles me, reminding me that my actions, no matter how small, have far-reaching consequences. We are all part of Allah's plan, bound together by His will. With this newfound clarity, I resolve to use my talents for a greater purpose. My work will no longer be solely about exposing lies, it will be about spreading truth, justice, and compassion. I will strive to guide others, not just through my words, but through my actions, setting an example of what it means to live a life of faith. But my time in this sacred place is coming to an end. I feel the pull of the earthly realm, a force drawing me back to my body and the life I left behind. It is bittersweet, leaving this place of peace and light, but I know that my journey is far from over. There is still much work to be done. Before I return, I offer a prayer to Allah, asking for strength, wisdom, and His continued guidance. I know that the path ahead will not be easy, but I trust in His plan. Whatever challenges await me, I will face them with faith and determination, knowing that I am never alone. As I prepare to leave, I accept my fate with humility. I understand now that my life is a gift, a chance to serve Allah and fulfill the purpose He has set for me. I am ready to embrace this responsibility, to live a life that honors Him in every action and decision. The celestial wonders around me begin to fade, replaced by the familiar sensations of the physical world. I feel the weight of my body, the ache of my injuries, but also the strength of my resolve. I am back, but I am changed, ready to carry the lessons of this experience into my life. When I open my eyes, I am in a hospital bed, surrounded by the hum of machines and the concerned faces of doctors. The pain is sharp, but it is a reminder that I am alive, that I have been given another chance. I whisper a prayer of gratitude, thanking Allah for His mercy. The doctors are puzzled by my recovery, their skepticism evident in their expressions. They speak of miracles and anomalies, but I know the truth. What happened to me was not a coincidence, it was a sign, a gift from Allah. I do not need their validation to understand its significance. When I try to share my experience, I find that words fail me. How can I describe something so profound, so beyond the realm of human understanding? I realize that this is not a story for the skeptical ears of the world, it is a truth I must carry within me, using it to guide my actions. Doubt creeps in once more, tempting me to dismiss my experience as a dream or a hallucination. It would be easier to return to my old life, to bury these memories and carry on as if nothing had changed. But I know that I cannot. To deny what I have seen would be to deny Allah Himself. The struggle to reconcile my old self with the person I have become is not an easy one. I feel the pull of my former cynicism, the habits that once defined me. But I also feel the weight of my new understanding, the responsibility I now bear. It is a battle, one I am determined to win. The conflict is not just internal. The world around me seems determined to pull me back into my old ways, to make me question the truths I have seen. But I hold fast to my faith, to the certainty that Allah has a plan for me. This is my test, and I will not falter. The temptation to remain silent is strong, to keep my experience to myself and avoid the scrutiny and doubt of others. But I know that silence is not an option. Allah has shown me the truth, and it is my duty to share it, to use it to bring light to the world. In my search for answers, I turn to the Quran, seeking guidance and reassurance. Its verses speak to me, offering comfort and clarity in the face of my doubts. I find strength in its words, a reminder that I am not alone in this journey. The life of the Prophet Muhammad becomes my beacon, a source of inspiration and wisdom. His patience, his compassion, his unwavering faith, they are qualities I strive to emulate. He faced trials far greater than mine, and yet he remained steadfast. I pray for the strength to do the same. I come to understand that anger and hatred are not the tools of a believer. They are distractions, temptations that lead us away from Allah's path. I must replace them with mercy, even for those who oppose me. This is the lesson of the Prophet, and it is one I take to heart. With this newfound perspective, I seek out the medium I once sought to expose. Our conversation is not one of accusation, but of understanding. I listen to his story, his beliefs, and his struggles. In him, I see a reflection of my own journey, a fellow seeker of truth. Through our dialogue, I come to understand his intentions. He is not the fraud I believed him to be, but a man searching for meaning and striving to help others in his own way. This realization humbles me, reminding me that faith takes many forms. The medium acknowledges my experience, recognizing in it something he, too, has felt. He tells me that I have been chosen to carry this truth, to share it with the world. His words resonate deeply, affirming the purpose I now see so clearly. With this affirmation, I embrace my path fully. I write my article, not as an exposé, but as a story of understanding and redemption. It is not about tearing someone down, but about building bridges, about finding common ground in our shared humanity. My work takes on a new dimension. It is no longer just about uncovering facts, it is about seeking the deeper truths that connect us all. I approach each story with compassion, striving to understand rather than to judge. This is my new mission. In the archives, I find not just evidence, but the stories of people, their struggles, their triumphs, their faith. Each life is a testament to Allah's plan, a piece of the puzzle that is humanity. I am humbled by their stories, inspired to do justice to their lives. My articles become a call to faith, a reminder of the importance of repentance and righteousness. I write not to condemn, but to guide, to inspire others to reflect on their own lives and their relationship with Allah. This is my way of serving Him. The response from readers is overwhelming. They write to me, sharing their own journeys, their struggles with faith, and their gratitude for my words. I see the impact of my work, the way it touches hearts and minds, and I am filled with a sense of purpose. I begin to speak publicly, sharing my experiences and the lessons I have learned. I talk about the unity of all prophets, from Adam to Muhammad, and the shared message they brought, to worship Allah and to live righteously. My words are a call to unity, to understanding, and to compassion. I speak of the interconnectedness of humanity, of the shared struggles and hopes that bind us together. I remind people that faith is not just about rituals and doctrines, but about living a life of integrity, humility, and love for others. My words are not about division, but about building bridges between people of different beliefs, showing that we all seek the same truth in our own ways. During one of my talks, I share the most profound moment of my journey, the vision of Isa, Jesus, during my Miraj. I describe how I saw him among the prophets, his presence radiating peace and humility, his devotion to Allah as pure and unwavering as the light surrounding him. I tell the audience that Isa, like Muhammad, was a messenger of Allah, calling people to worship the one true God. Seeing him in that divine realm reminded me that the prophets were all part of the same message, their lives intertwined in the grand design of Allah. As I recount this vision, I emphasize that Isa's teachings, like those of Muhammad, were rooted in love, mercy, and justice. He was not a figure of division, but of unity, a reminder that the path to Allah is open to all who seek it with sincerity and humility. My words resonate with the audience, many of whom are hearing this perspective for the first time. They see Isa not as a figure of contention between religions, but as a bridge, a symbol of the shared spiritual heritage that connects us all. This understanding transforms the way I approach my work and my faith. I come to see that the differences between people are not barriers, but opportunities for dialogue and growth. Allah's creation is vast and diverse, and in that diversity lies a reflection of His infinite wisdom. I begin to write and speak about the unity of all believers, urging people to look beyond the surface and recognize the shared humanity that binds us together. My articles now focus on stories of hope and redemption, of people overcoming their struggles through faith and perseverance. I write about the commonalities between different faiths, about how the teachings of the prophets align in their call for justice, mercy, and devotion to Allah. My words inspire others to seek understanding and to build connections rather than walls. I feel a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that I am using my platform to spread truth and compassion. As I continue this journey, I reflect on the transformation I have undergone. The cynicism and anger that once drove me have been replaced by faith and humility. I no longer see my work as a battle against the world, but as a contribution to its betterment. Every story I uncover, every word I write, is an offering to Allah, a way to serve Him by serving humanity. My life, once solitary and driven by a narrow sense of justice, is now rich with purpose and meaning. I understand now that my experience during the accident was not just a personal revelation but a calling. Allah brought me to that moment to open my eyes, to show me the path I must take. The vision of the Miraj was a gift, a glimpse of the divine that reshaped my understanding of the world and my place in it. I carry that experience with me every day, using it as a guide and a source of strength. The medium, who has now become a friend and confidant, continues to inspire me with his perspective. He, too, has changed through our dialogue, embracing a deeper understanding of his own faith and intentions. Together, we work to bridge the gap between people of different beliefs, showing that faith is not a competition but a shared journey toward Allah. Our collaboration becomes a testament to the power of understanding and the possibilities that arise when we approach each other with open hearts. As I look back on my life, I see how every moment, every struggle, and every triumph has led me to this point. The experiences that once filled me with anger and frustration now seem like stepping stones, guiding me toward a greater purpose. I realized that even in my darkest moments, Allah was with me, shaping me into the person I needed to become. This understanding fills me with gratitude and a renewed sense of responsibility. I continue to write, speak, and engage with others, always striving to embody the principles of faith, compassion, and justice. My journey is far from over, but I embrace it with open arms, knowing that I am walking the path Allah has set for me. Each day brings new challenges and opportunities, and I face them with the confidence that comes from knowing I am never alone. Allah is with me, guiding me, and I am determined to honor Him in all that I do. As I conclude each day, I turn to prayer, seeking Allah's guidance and giving thanks for the blessings in my life. I pray for the strength to continue this journey, for the wisdom to make the right choices, and for the compassion to see the best in others. My faith is my anchor, my compass, and my source of hope. Through it, I find the courage to face whatever lies ahead, knowing that I am fulfilling my purpose as a servant of Allah. And so, I continue this path, not as a perfect man but as a striving one. I, Ethan Reynolds, a Muslim and servant of Allah, dedicate my life to truth, justice, and compassion. My work is no longer just about uncovering lies, it is about building a world where faith and understanding can thrive. I carry the lessons of my Miraj with me, using them to guide my actions and inspire others. This is my calling, my responsibility, and my greatest honor. As the days turned into weeks, my life took on a new rhythm, one defined by purpose rather than mere routine. Each morning began with prayer, my forehead pressed to the prayer mat as I sought guidance for the day ahead. My work no longer felt like a burden, it had become an extension of my faith. Every article, every conversation, every moment I spent uncovering truths or bridging divides was imbued with a sense of divine responsibility. I felt a renewed vigor, a clarity of purpose that I had never known before. One evening, while revisiting the Quran, a verse resonated deeply within me, and whoever saves one life, it is as if he had saved mankind entirely, Quran 5:32. I reflected on how my work, though focused on exposing corruption and deceit, could also save lives, not just physically, but spiritually. It was in that moment I realized that my articles were not only a means of justice, but also a way to guide others toward faith, repentance, and understanding. I felt a deep resolve to approach my work with even greater care, knowing that my words had the power to both uplift and wound. The medium, whom I now called by his name, Samuel, had become a frequent presence in my life. Our conversations were profound, often lasting late into the night. Samuel had his own journey, one that was not without struggle or doubt. He admitted that his work, though well-intentioned, often left him questioning whether he was doing enough or if he was leading people astray. "I've always believed in helping others," he said one night, his voice heavy with emotion. "But I never considered the weight of my own limitations. Meeting you, Ethan, has opened my eyes to the need for humility in my work." His words humbled me in return. I realized that humility was the cornerstone of faith, a lesson I had learned during my Miraj. Samuel's willingness to reflect on his own actions inspired me to do the same. Together, we began discussing ways to use our platforms to foster understanding and unity rather than division. It was a collaboration I never would have imagined before my accident, but now it felt like a natural progression of the path Allah had set before me. As part of this new chapter, I decided to revisit some of my old articles, particularly those that had been written with a harsher tone. I saw them now in a different light, recognizing the times when my anger had overshadowed my compassion. I reached out to some of the people I had written about, seeking to understand their perspectives and, where necessary, to make amends. One such person was an entrepreneur whose business practices I had exposed years ago. To my surprise, he agreed to meet with me. Our conversation was tense at first, but as we spoke, I saw the humanity in him that I had ignored before. He admitted to mistakes, but also shared stories of the employees he had helped, the families he had supported. "You only saw one side of the story," he said, not as a rebuke but as a statement of fact. He was right. I had judged him without understanding the full picture. I left that meeting with a renewed commitment to approach my work with greater empathy, to see people as complex individuals rather than mere subjects of investigation. My newfound perspective began to influence my writing. I wrote an article about Samuel, not as an exposé but as a profile of a man trying to navigate his own faith and purpose. The piece was well received, sparking conversations about the nature of belief and the importance of intention. Readers wrote to me, sharing their own struggles with faith and their gratitude for the story. For the first time, I felt that my work was making a difference not just in exposing wrongdoing, but in inspiring change. One night, I had a dream that felt like a continuation of my mirage. I found myself once again in the presence of the prophets, their faces radiant with light. Among them was Isa, Jesus, who approached me with a gentle smile. "Your journey is not about perfection," he said, his voice calm and soothing. "It is about striving, about aligning your heart and actions with the truth. You are not alone in this." When I awoke, I felt an overwhelming sense of peace, as if the dream had been a divine reminder that my path, though fraught with challenges, was the right one. This dream reignited my commitment to interfaith dialogue. I began reaching out to leaders of different religious communities, seeking to understand their perspectives and to find common ground. These meetings were enlightening, filled with moments of connection and mutual respect. I realized that while our rituals and doctrines might differ, our core values, faith, compassion, and the pursuit of truth, were remarkably similar. Through these interactions, I felt a deeper appreciation for the diversity of Allah's creation. One particularly memorable meeting was with a Christian pastor who had read my article about Samuel. He invited me to speak at his church, an opportunity one accepted with gratitude. Standing before the congregation, I shared my story, from my work as a journalist to my near-death experience and the lessons I had learned. I spoke of the unity of the prophets, of their shared message to worship Allah and live righteously. The response was overwhelmingly positive, with many members of the congregation approaching me afterward to express their appreciation. It was a moment of profound connection, a reminder that faith has the power to bridge even the widest divides. As I continued this work, I began to notice changes within myself. The anger that had once driven me was gone, replaced by a sense of purpose and calm. My prayers felt deeper, more sincere, as if I were truly conversing with Allah rather than reciting words. I found joy in small acts of kindness and moments of connection with others. My life, once defined by solitude and skepticism, had become rich with relationships and a sense of belonging. But the journey was not without its challenges. There were moments of doubt, of fatigue, when the weight of my responsibilities felt overwhelming. In those times, I turned to prayer, seeking strength and guidance from Allah. I also leaned on the support of those around me, Samuel, my colleagues, the religious leaders I had come to know. Their encouragement reminded me that I was not alone, that my work was part of a larger tapestry woven by Allah's hands. One of the most challenging moments came when I was asked to investigate a case involving a prominent religious leader accused of misconduct. The allegations were serious, and the evidence was compelling, but the thought of exposing someone who was seen as a spiritual guide weighed heavily on me. I prayed for guidance, asking Allah to help me navigate this difficult situation. In the end, I approached the story with the same principles that now guided all my work: truth, compassion, and justice. My article was not just a condemnation, but a call for accountability and healing, a reminder that even those in positions of power are human and fallible. The response to the article was mixed, with some praising my courage and others questioning my motives. It was a difficult experience, but one that reinforced the importance of my work. Through it all, I held on to the lessons of my mirage, the vision of the prophets and the unity of their message. I reminded myself that my responsibility was not to please everyone, but to remain true to the principles of faith and integrity. As I sit here now, reflecting on my journey, I am filled with gratitude for the path Allah has set before me. My life has been transformed in ways I never could have imagined, from a solitary pursuit of justice to a mission of faith, compassion, and unity. I, Ethan Reynolds, a Muslim and servant of Allah, am humbled by the opportunities one have been given to make a difference in the world. My work is far from done, but I embrace the challenges ahead with a heart full of faith and a spirit renewed by the lessons of my journey. All praise is due to Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate, who has guided me every step of the way. As the days turned into months, the threads of my new life began weaving themselves into a tapestry of purpose and meaning. Each investigation I undertook, each article I wrote, and each conversation I held felt like a step toward fulfilling the mission Allah had placed before me. My faith was no longer just a private sanctuary, but a compass guiding my interactions with the world. It had become impossible to separate my work from my spirituality, as the two were now deeply intertwined. One of the most profound outcomes of this transformation was the impact my articles began to have on readers. I started receiving letters and emails not just from Muslims, but from people of all faiths and backgrounds. A woman wrote to me about how one of my pieces had inspired her to forgive someone who had wronged her. A young man shared that my story about Samuel had led him to reconsider his atheism and explore the idea of a higher power. These messages were humbling, a reminder that the words I put into the world had the power to ripple outward in ways I could never predict. Despite the positive feedback, I remained conscious of the weight of my responsibilities. Writing the truth was not just a professional obligation, it was a divine duty. I often revisited the Quran, seeking wisdom and clarity in its verses. One passage that anchored me was, "Indeed, the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you," Quran 49:13. This verse reminded me that my worth was not measured by accolades or recognition, but by my adherence to righteousness and my commitment to serving Allah. Samuel, too, was experiencing a transformation of his own. His work as a medium had always been rooted in a desire to help others, but our conversations had sparked a deeper introspection. He began to question the methods he used and whether they truly aligned with his intentions. Together, we explored ways he could channel his desire to comfort and guide others without compromising his integrity or misleading anyone. It was not an easy journey for him, but his willingness to reflect and adapt inspired me. It was a testament to the power of humility and the capacity for growth that Allah instills in all of us. One night, as we sat in his small, book-lined office, Samuel shared a story from his childhood. He spoke of how, as a boy, he had prayed fervently for a sign from God during a time of personal despair. "I never got the sign I was looking for," he admitted, his voice tinged with both regret and acceptance. "But I realize now that maybe I was looking in the wrong places. Maybe the signs were always there, in the kindness of a stranger or the beauty of a sunset, but I was too fixated on what I thought I needed to see." His words struck a chord with me. How often had I, in my own life, been blind to the signs Allah placed before me? How many times had I dismissed moments of grace because they didn't align with my expectations? Reflecting on Samuel's story, I resolved to approach life with greater awareness, to seek Allah's guidance not just in grand revelations, but in the quiet, everyday moments that often go unnoticed. My work continued to lead me to unexpected places, both literally and figuratively. One assignment took me to a small, rural town where a community was grappling with the closure of a local factory. The story was ostensibly about economic hardship, but as I delved deeper, I discovered a rich tapestry of resilience and faith. The people I interviewed spoke not only of their struggles, but also of their unwavering belief that Allah, or, in some cases, God under another name, would provide for them. Their stories reminded me of the incredible strength that faith can inspire, even in the face of adversity. Writing about this community was a deeply moving experience. I sought to capture not just their challenges, but also their hope and determination. When the article was published, it resonated with readers in ways I hadn't anticipated. Donations poured in to support the town, and several businesses reached out with offers to provide jobs and resources. It was a powerful reminder that storytelling, when done with integrity and compassion, can be a force for good in the world. Yet, even as I found fulfillment in my work, I continued to grapple with moments of doubt. There were times when the enormity of my responsibilities felt overwhelming, when I questioned whether I was truly making a difference or merely scratching the surface of deeper, systemic issues. In these moments, I turned to prayer, seeking solace and guidance from Allah. I also leaned on the support of those around me, Samuel, my colleagues, and the growing network of interfaith leaders I had come to know. Their encouragement reminded me that I was not alone, that my work was part of a larger effort to bring light and understanding to the world. One of the most significant turning points in my journey came during a visit to a mosque where I had been invited to speak. After sharing my story and the lessons of my Miraj, I was approached by a young man named Amir. He told me that he had been struggling with his faith, torn between the teachings of Islam and the pressures of modern life. "Your story gave me hope," he said, his voice trembling with emotion. "It reminded me that faith isn't about being perfect, it's about striving, about trying to be better every day." His words stayed with me long after our conversation, a poignant reminder of the impact we can have on others, often without even realizing it. Amir's story also inspired me to reflect on my own imperfections. For all the progress I had made, I knew there were still areas where I could grow, still biases and blind spots I needed to confront. I prayed for the strength to continue this journey of self-improvement, to remain open to the lessons Allah placed before me, even when they were difficult or uncomfortable. Faith, I realized, is not a destination but a lifelong process of learning, unlearning, and striving to align oneself with the divine. As my work expanded, so did my audience. I began receiving invitations to speak not just at mosques, but also at churches, synagogues, and community centers. These gatherings became opportunities to share the universal message of faith, compassion, and justice that had been revealed to me during my mirage. I spoke not as a scholar or an authority but as a fellow seeker, someone who had been humbled and transformed by the grace of Allah. Each interaction was a chance to build bridges, to foster understanding, and to remind people of the common threads that unite us all. One particularly memorable invitation came from a university that was hosting an interfaith dialogue. The panel included religious leaders from various traditions, as well as scholars and activists. As I listened to the diverse perspectives being shared, I was struck by the beauty of the conversation, the way it reflected the richness of Allah's creation. When it was my turn to speak, I shared not only my story but also my belief that faith, in all its forms, is a call to action, a reminder to live with integrity, to serve others, and to seek Allah in every aspect of our lives. The response from the audience was deeply moving. People of different faiths approached me afterward, expressing gratitude for the message of unity and hope I had shared. One man, a devout Christian, told me that my words had reminded him of a verse from the Bible, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God," Matthew 5 verse 9. His comment resonated with me, a reminder that the teachings of the prophets, though expressed in different languages and traditions, often echo the same divine truths. As I continue this journey, I am more convinced than ever of the importance of dialogue, empathy, and the pursuit of truth. My life, once narrowly focused on exposing lies, has expanded to encompass a broader mission, to inspire others to seek Allah, to live with compassion, and to recognize the shared humanity that binds us all. I do not know where this path will ultimately lead, but I trust in Allah's plan, knowing that He has guided me every step of the way. My work is not finished, but my heart is full, and my spirit is strong. Alhamdulillah, for all that has been and all that is yet to come. With each passing day, my life became a testament to the power of faith and transformation. My work as a journalist now felt like the fulfillment of a divine purpose, a way to merge my professional skills with my spiritual obligations. The more I wrote, the more I realized that every word carried weight. I was no longer just reporting facts, I was weaving narratives that touched hearts, opened minds, and, in some cases, brought people closer to Allah. This realization kept me grounded and fueled my commitment to write with integrity, compassion, and a sense of responsibility. One day, I received an email from a reader that deeply moved me. It was from a young woman named Rachel, who described herself as an agnostic struggling with existential questions. She had read my article about the small rural town and how their faith had sustained them through hardship. "I don't know if I believe in God," she wrote, "but your words made me want to believe in something greater. How do you hold on to faith in a world that often feels so broken?" Her question lingered in my mind for days, a reminder of how universal the struggle for meaning can be. I decided to respond to Rachel personally, sharing my own journey and the moments of doubt I had faced. I told her about the accident, the mirage, and how it had reshaped my understanding of faith. "Faith doesn't eliminate the brokenness," I wrote to her. "It gives us the strength to face it, to find purpose in the midst of it, and to work towards something better. It's not about having all the answers, but about trusting in the one who does." Her reply came a week later, filled with gratitude and an openness to explore faith further. It was a small exchange, but it reminded me of the ripple effect our words and actions can have. My relationship with Samuel also continued to evolve. He had begun to reframe his work, moving away from the theatrics of mediumship and focusing instead on providing emotional support and guidance to those in need. He often consulted with me, asking for advice on how to navigate the ethical challenges of his new approach. "I don't want to mislead anyone," he told me during one of our discussions. "I just want to help people find peace." His sincerity struck a chord with me, and I encouraged him to consider incorporating elements of faith into his guidance, reminding him that true peace comes from aligning oneself with the Creator. Together, we started a small community initiative aimed at fostering dialogue between people of different beliefs. We called it The Common Thread, a reference to the shared values and experiences that unite humanity despite our differences. Our events ranged from interfaith discussions to workshops on topics like forgiveness, resilience, and the pursuit of truth. The response was overwhelmingly positive, with attendees expressing gratitude for the safe space we had created for meaningful conversations. It was a reminder that even in a world often divided by ideology, there is a deep hunger for connection and understanding. One evening, during a Common Thread event, a participant asked me a question that stayed with me long after the discussion ended. "In your mirage," she began hesitantly, "you saw the deeds of humanity laid bare. How do you reconcile that vision with the world we live in, where justice often feels absent?" Her question was not just intellectual, it was deeply personal, a reflection of the pain and frustration so many feel in the face of injustice. I paused before responding, wanting to choose my words carefully. What I saw during my mirage was not just the consequences of our actions, but the mercy of Allah, I told her. Yes, justice will be served, but it is tempered with compassion, with opportunities for redemption. Our role is to strive for justice here on earth while trusting in Allah's ultimate plan. The world may seem broken, but our faith teaches us that it is not beyond repair. Each of us has a part to play in mending it, in being instruments of His mercy and justice. The woman nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. In that moment, I felt the profound weight of my responsibility, not just to speak the truth, but to offer hope. As my work gained traction, I found myself invited to speak at larger and more diverse audiences. One such invitation took me to an international conference on ethics and journalism. The theme was Truth in an Age of Division, and the panel included journalists, theologians, and activists from around the world. It was both intimidating and exhilarating to share the stage with such accomplished individuals, but I reminded myself that my story was not about me. It was about the lessons Allah had taught me and the mission He had entrusted to me. When it was my turn to speak, I began by recounting the moment of my accident, the darkness that enveloped me, and the journey that followed. That experience showed me that truth is not just about facts, I told the audience. It's about intention, compassion, and the courage to confront our own biases. As journalists, as human beings, we have a responsibility to seek the deeper truths that unite us rather than the surface-level divisions that tear us apart. My words were met with a standing ovation, but I knew the real success lay in the conversations that followed, and the connections forged and the minds opened. One of the most unexpected outcomes of my journey was the impact it had on my personal life. For years, I had lived in self-imposed isolation, convinced that my work left no room for relationships or companionship. But as my heart softened and my perspective broadened, I began to see the value of community, of sharing my life with others. It was during one of the Common Thread events that I met Fatima, a teacher and activist with a passion for interfaith dialogue. Her intelligence, kindness, and unwavering faith captivated me, and over time, our shared values blossomed into something deeper. For the first time in years, I allowed myself to consider the possibility of love, not as a distraction from my purpose, but as a source of strength and inspiration. Fatima and I often spoke about the challenges of living a life of faith in a world that sometimes feels hostile to it. She shared stories of her work with students from diverse backgrounds, her efforts to foster understanding and empathy among young people. "It's not always easy," she admitted one evening as we walked along the riverbank, the city lights reflecting on the water. But I believe that every small act of kindness, every conversation, plants a seed. And those seeds can grow into something beautiful, even if we don't live to see it. Her words reminded me of the Quranic verse, "Whoever does an atom's weight of good will see it," Quran 99:7. It was a verse that had guided me through many difficult moments, and hearing it echoed in her sentiments felt like a confirmation of the path we were both walking. As our relationship deepened, I found myself reflecting on the concept of partnership, not just in marriage, but in life. Fatima and I were two individuals with distinct journeys, yet our paths had converged in a way that felt divinely orchestrated. Together, we began to dream of ways to expand our work, to reach more people with the message of unity, compassion, and faith. It was not just about our individual contributions, but about what we could achieve together as partners in both life and purpose. Looking back on my journey, I am struck by the profound ways in which Allah has guided me, even when I did not realize it. From the depths of my cynicism to the heights of my mirage, every step has been a lesson, a reminder of the mercy and wisdom of the Creator. My work is far from over, and I know there will be challenges ahead, but I face them with a heart full of faith and a spirit renewed by the knowledge that I am never alone. Every prayer, every word, every act of kindness is a thread in the tapestry of Allah's plan. And for that, I am endlessly grateful. Alhamdulillah. As Fatima and I continued to navigate the path Allah had set for us, our lives became a reflection of the balance between action and faith, between striving and submission. The book, Threads of Light, Stories of Faith and Connection, became more than just a culmination of our work, it became a beacon for others. It opened doors we hadn't anticipated, connecting us with communities and individuals seeking not only guidance but also the reassurance that faith and purpose could thrive in an increasingly fragmented world. Shortly after the book's release, we received an invitation to participate in a global summit on faith and social justice. The event, hosted in Istanbul, brought together religious leaders, activists, educators, and thinkers from across the globe. The theme was faith as a catalyst for change, and it felt as though everything Fatima and I had been working towards had led us to this moment. The summit was not just an opportunity to share our experiences, but also a chance to learn from others who were using their faith to drive meaningful change in their communities. Our keynote address at the summit focused on the transformative power of personal narratives and the shared values that underpin all faith traditions. I spoke about the lessons I had learned from my Miraj experience, emphasizing the importance of humility, accountability, and compassion. Faith is not a passive state, I told the audience. It is a call to action, a reminder that we are stewards of this world and that our deeds, no matter how small, have the potential to create ripples of change. Fatima followed with a powerful message about the importance of education in bridging divides. "Ignorance breeds fear," she said, her voice steady and resolute. "But knowledge, true, empathetic understanding, has the power to dissolve those fears and replace them with connection. When we educate ourselves about others' beliefs, struggles, and hopes, we honor the diversity of Allah's creation and move closer to the unity He calls us to." The response was overwhelming. Attendees approached us afterward, eager to share their thoughts, their stories, and their aspirations. A young Imam from Bosnia spoke of how he had been inspired to create a youth program in his community centered on interfaith dialogue. A Christian activist from South Africa shared how the summit had reaffirmed her commitment to social justice as an expression of her faith. Each conversation was a reminder of the incredible potential for good that exists when people of faith come together with open hearts and shared purpose. One of the most profound moments of the summit came during a private discussion with a Buddhist monk from Thailand, a rabbi from Israel, and a Sikh educator from Canada. We shared our visions for a more compassionate world, and despite the differences in our traditions, the underlying principles were remarkably similar. The rabbi spoke of tikkun olam, the Jewish concept of repairing the world. The monk emphasized metta, or loving-kindness, as a central tenet of his practice. The Sikh educator highlighted the importance of seva, selfless service, as a way to honor the divine. Listening to them, I was reminded of the unity of all prophets and the shared call to righteousness that binds humanity across time and space. As the summit concluded, Fatima and I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The experience had not only affirmed the importance of our work, but also expanded our vision for what was possible. We began to dream of establishing a global initiative that would bring together people of different faiths to collaborate on projects that addressed pressing social issues, poverty, education, climate change, and the refugee crisis. We envisioned a network of individuals and organizations united by the belief that faith, when lived authentically, could be a force for profound and lasting change. Back home, we began laying the groundwork for this initiative, which we called Faith in Action. The idea was simple but ambitious: to create a platform where people of all faiths could share resources, collaborate on projects, and inspire one another to live out their beliefs in ways that uplifted their communities. The initiative quickly gained traction, attracting support from religious leaders, nonprofits, and activists from around the world. It was both humbling and exhilarating to see our vision come to life. One of the first major projects under Faith in Action was a collaboration between mosques, churches, synagogues, and temples in a major city to provide shelter and support for homeless families during the winter months. The project, called Warmth for All, brought together volunteers from diverse backgrounds who worked tirelessly to create safe, welcoming spaces for those in need. As I visited one of the shelters, I was struck by the sense of unity and compassion that filled the room. People who might never have crossed paths were now working side by side, bound by a shared commitment to serve. During one visit, I met a man named Ahmed who had been volunteering at the shelter while also navigating his own struggles with unemployment. "This work has given me a sense of purpose," he told me. "It's reminded me that even when I feel like I have nothing to give, I still have my time, my energy, and my compassion. And that's enough." His words mirrored a lesson I had learned during my Miraj, that our worth is not measured by material success, but by the goodness we bring into the world. As Faith in Action grew, so did the challenges we faced. Coordinating efforts across different cultures and traditions required patience, sensitivity, and a willingness to confront difficult conversations. There were moments of tension, moments when misunderstandings threatened to derail our progress. But each time, we returned to the core principles that had guided us from the beginning: humility, dialogue, and the shared belief in something greater than ourselves. These principles became our anchor, helping us navigate the complexities of our work. Through it all, Fatima remained my greatest source of strength and inspiration. Her unwavering faith and boundless compassion were a constant reminder of why we were doing this work. One evening, as we sat together reviewing plans for an upcoming project, she turned to me and said, "Do you ever think about how far you've come, Ethan? About how Allah brought you from that moment of darkness and doubt to this?" Her question caught me off guard, but as I reflected on it, I felt a wave of gratitude wash over me. "I think about it every day," I admitted. "And every day, I'm reminded that none of this is because of me. It's all because of Allah's mercy and guidance. He took my brokenness and turned it into something meaningful, something that could serve others. And for that, I'll spend the rest of my life trying to give back." As I look to the future, I am filled with a sense of hope, not because I believe the challenges we face will disappear, but because I have seen the incredible capacity for goodness that exists within humanity. My journey, from the depths of despair to the heights of faith, has taught me that even in the darkest moments, Allah's light is never far. It is a light that calls us to rise, to strive, and to be instruments of His mercy in the world. I do not know where this path will lead next, but I walk it with a heart full of faith, a spirit renewed by purpose, and a deep trust in Allah's plan. My life is no longer just my own; it is a thread in the vast, intricate tapestry of His creation. And for that, I will forever say, Alhamdulillah. As the work of Faith in Action expanded, it began to evolve in ways that neither Fatima nor I had fully anticipated. What started as a series of grassroots initiatives blossomed into a global movement, connecting people from every corner of the world who shared a common desire to turn their faith into meaningful action. Each new project added depth to the mission, and each new story of transformation strengthened our resolve. It was as though the vision Allah had placed in my heart during the Miraj was taking shape before my very eyes, unfolding in ways more beautiful and impactful than I could have ever imagined. Amid this growth, Fatima and I found ourselves busier than ever, traveling to different cities and countries to oversee projects, meet with collaborators, and share the message of unity and compassion. One particularly memorable trip took us to a refugee camp on the border of Syria and Jordan, where Faith in Action had partnered with local organizations to provide education and vocational training to displaced families. The sight of children learning to read and write in makeshift classrooms, their laughter ringing out despite the hardships they had endured, was both heart-wrenching and inspiring. During our visit, we met a young boy named Khalid who had lost his parents in the conflict. Despite his circumstances, his eyes sparkled with a determination that belied his years. Through a translator, he told us about his dream of becoming a doctor so he could one day return to Syria and help rebuild his country. "I want to heal people," he said, his voice steady and resolute. "Not just their bodies, but their hearts too." His words struck a deep chord within me, reminding me of the resilience of the human spirit and the incredible strength that faith can inspire, even in the face of unimaginable loss. As I left the camp that day, I felt a renewed sense of commitment to the work Allah had entrusted to us. Khalid's story, like so many others we had encountered, was a testament to the power of hope and the importance of creating opportunities for people to thrive, no matter their circumstances. It was a reminder that every effort, no matter how small, could make a difference in someone's life. Back home, Fatima and I began discussing ways to ensure the long-term sustainability of Faith in Action. While the movement had grown rapidly, we knew that its success depended on more than just our involvement. It required a network of dedicated individuals and organizations who could carry the torch forward, guided by the principles of faith, compassion, and justice. To this end, we decided to establish a leadership academy that would train the next generation of changemakers, people who could take the values of faith in action and apply them to their own communities and contexts. The academy, which we named the Lightbearers Initiative, was designed to be a space for learning, collaboration, and spiritual growth. Participants came from diverse backgrounds, representing a wide range of faith traditions, professions, and life experiences. The curriculum combined practical skills, such as project management and conflict resolution, with deep reflections on the ethical and spiritual dimensions of leadership. Fatima played a central role in shaping the program, drawing on her expertise as an educator to create an environment that nurtured both the mind and the soul. During the inaugural session of the Academy, I had the privilege of addressing the first cohort of participants. As I stood before them, I felt a sense of awe at the potential that filled the room. These were people who had answered the call to serve, who had chosen to dedicate their lives to building a better world. Each of you, I told them, is a bearer of light, a reflection of Allah's mercy and guidance. Your faith is your anchor, your compass, and your source of strength. Use it to illuminate the path for others, to mend what is broken, and to inspire hope where there is despair. The Academy quickly became a cornerstone of faith in action, producing leaders who went on to spearhead transformative projects in their own communities. One graduate, a young woman named Layla, launched an initiative to combat food insecurity in her hometown, creating a network of urban gardens that provided fresh produce to low-income families. Another, a pastor named Daniel, started a mentorship program for at-risk youth, using his faith as a foundation for building trust and fostering resilience. Each story was a reminder of the incredible impact that could be achieved when faith and action came together. In the midst of all this growth, I continued to write, finding solace and clarity in the act of putting my thoughts into words. My articles had become a way to reflect on the lessons I was learning, to share the stories of the people who inspired me, and to invite others to join the journey. One piece, titled The Weight of a Single Act, explored the idea that even the smallest gestures of kindness could have far-reaching consequences. In it, I recounted Yusuf's story from the Stories That Unite workshop, as well as Khalid's dream of becoming a doctor. The article resonated deeply with readers, sparking conversations about the ways in which we can all contribute to a better world. As the years passed, Fatima and I continued to grow both as individuals and as partners. Our marriage became a source of strength and joy, a reminder of Allah's mercy in bringing us together. We often spoke about the journey that had led us to this point, marveling at how Allah's plan had unfolded in ways we could never have predicted. It's like every step, every challenge, was preparing us for this moment, Fatima said one evening as we watched the sunset from our balcony. Even the struggles were part of the plan, shaping us into the people we needed to become. Her words rang true. Looking back, I could see how every experience, my accident, the mirage, the struggles and triumphs of my work, had been a thread in the tapestry Allah was weaving. Each moment had taught me something valuable, shaping my perspective, deepening my faith, and preparing me for the responsibilities I now carried. It was a humbling realization, one that filled me with gratitude and a renewed sense of purpose. As I sit here now, reflecting on all that has transpired, I am struck by the enormity of Allah's mercy and wisdom. My journey has been one of transformation, of finding light in the midst of darkness and purpose in the face of uncertainty. It has been a journey of faith, imperfect, at times faltering, but always guided by the knowledge that Allah's plan is greater than anything I could ever imagine. The work of faith in action continues to grow, touching lives and inspiring change in ways that leave me in awe. Fatima and I are now parents to a beautiful daughter, Amina, whose laughter fills our home with joy and whose presence reminds us of the boundless blessings Allah has bestowed upon us. As I watch her grow, I am filled with hope for the future, knowing that she will inherit a world shaped by the efforts of so many who have chosen to live their faith with courage and compassion. And so, the journey continues. Each day brings new challenges, new opportunities, and new reminders of the infinite mercy of the Creator. I do not know what lies ahead, but I walk forward with a heart full of gratitude, a spirit strengthened by faith, and a commitment to serve in whatever ways I can. My life is a thread in the tapestry of Allah's creation, and for that, I will forever say, Alhamdulillah. As my life unfolded in ways I could never have foreseen, I often found myself reflecting on the journey and the immense responsibility that had brought me to this point. The work of faith in action had become a global force for good, but with its growth came challenges that tested not only my leadership but also the depth of my faith. Fatima and I often spoke about how the work seemed to have taken on a life of its own, moving beyond us, yet always pulling us forward toward new horizons. One of the most transformative moments in this chapter of my life came when we were approached by an international coalition of faith-based organizations working on climate change. The coalition sought to unite religious communities in the fight against one of the greatest challenges of our time. They asked us if faith in action would take a leading role in their efforts, helping to bring together voices from diverse traditions to advocate for environmental justice. At first, the task felt overwhelming. The scale of the problem, the complexity of the solutions needed, and the sheer diversity of perspectives within the coalition made it seem almost impossible to find common ground. But as I prayed for guidance, I was reminded of the Quranic verse, "And do not commit abuse on the earth, spreading corruption." Quran 2:60. It was a clear call to action, a reminder that stewardship of the earth is not just a moral responsibility but a sacred trust. With this in mind, Fatima and I began working with the coalition to create a campaign called Sacred Earth, Shared Responsibility. The campaign sought to bridge the gap between faith and environmental advocacy, emphasizing that caring for the planet is an act of worship and a way to honor Allah's creation. We organized interfaith dialogues, educational programs, and community-led initiatives that brought together diverse voices to address issues like deforestation, water scarcity, and pollution. One of the most impactful projects involved planting trees in areas devastated by deforestation. The initiative, called the Green Covenant, drew participants from across faiths, Muslims, Christians, Hindus, Buddhists, and others, all working side by side to restore the land. I will never forget the sight of people of all ages and backgrounds digging into the soil, planting seeds of hope that would one day grow into forests. It was a living testament to the idea that faith, when lived authentically, has the power to heal not only the human heart, but also the earth itself. During one of these tree planting events, I met a young girl named Lena, who had come with her family from a nearby village. She was no older than 10, but spoke with a wisdom far beyond her years. "My grandmother says the trees are like us," she told me, holding a small sapling in her hands. "They breathe, they grow, and they give life to everything around them. When we plant a tree, it's like giving the world a gift." Her words stayed with me, a poignant reminder of the interconnectedness of all life and the responsibility we have to nurture it. The campaign gained international attention, and Faith in Action was soon invited to present its work at a United Nations conference on climate change. Standing before a room filled with policymakers, activists, and religious leaders, I spoke about the role of faith in addressing environmental challenges. Our scriptures remind us that the earth is a trust, I said. It is not ours to exploit, but to care for and protect. By coming together as people of faith, we can inspire a movement rooted in the values of compassion, stewardship, and justice. The conference was a turning point for Faith in Action, opening doors to new collaborations and amplifying our message on a global scale. But it was also a deeply humbling experience, a reminder of how much work remained to be done. As Fatima and I returned home, we resolved to continue expanding the reach and impact of our efforts, always guided by the principles of faith and service. Amid this whirlwind of activity, our personal life remained a sanctuary of love and gratitude. Amina, now a curious and spirited 5-year-old, often accompanied us to events and meetings. Her presence brought a sense of joy and perspective to everything we did. Watching her explore the world with wonder reminded me of the beauty and innocence that we are called to protect and nurture. She's our greatest teacher, Fatima often said, and I couldn't agree more. Amina's questions, sometimes simple, sometimes profound, challenged me to think deeply about my values and the legacy I hope to leave behind. One evening, as I tucked her into bed, she looked up at me with her wide, curious eyes and asked, "Baba, why do you always say Alhamdulillah?" Her question caught me off guard, not because I didn't know the answer, but because I realized how important it was to explain it in a way she could understand. I sat beside her and said, "Because, my love, it means all praise is for Allah. It's a way of saying thank you for everything we have, our family, our friends, the trees, the stars, and even the air we breathe. Saying Alhamdulillah reminds me to be grateful every single day." She nodded thoughtfully, as though weighing my words. "Then I'll say it too," she declared, her voice filled with conviction. "Alhamdulillah for you, Baba." In that moment, my heart felt full to bursting. It was a reminder that the seeds of faith we plant in our children can bloom into something extraordinary. As the years passed, the work of Faith in Action continued to grow, touching lives in ways I could never have imagined. We launched initiatives focused on education, healthcare, and conflict resolution, always guided by the principle that faith is a force for good. But no matter how far our efforts reached, I remained rooted in the lessons of my Miraj, the vision that had set me on this path and the constant reminder of Allah's mercy and guidance. There were challenges, of course, moments of doubt, setbacks, and even criticism from those who misunderstood our intentions. But through it all, I held on to the belief that every step, every effort, was part of a greater plan. I often turned to the Quran for solace, finding strength in verses like, "Indeed, with hardship comes ease," Quran 94:6. It was a promise that had carried me through my darkest moments, and it continued to sustain me in the face of new trials. Now, as I reflect on the journey that has brought me here, I am overwhelmed by a sense of gratitude. Gratitude for the challenges that shaped me, for the people who inspired me, and for the faith that has been my anchor through it all. My life is not without imperfections, but it is filled with purpose, love, and a deep connection to the Creator. The work is far from over, and I know there will be more obstacles to overcome. But I face the future with hope, knowing that Allah's guidance will continue to light the way. My life, my family, and my work are all threads in the vast tapestry of His creation, woven together by His wisdom and mercy. And for that, I will forever say, Alhamdulillah. As the years passed, I came to understand that every journey, no matter how profound, must eventually find its conclusion, not as an end, but as a transition into something new. My life had been a series of chapters, each one shaped by the lessons Allah had placed before me, each one a thread in the intricate design of His plan. And now, as I approached the later years of my life, I began to reflect on the legacy I would leave behind and the impact of the choices I had made. The work of Faith in Action had grown far beyond anything Fatima and I could have imagined. It was no longer just a movement or a series of initiatives, it had become a global network of hope and service. Leaders from countless communities had taken up the mantle, building projects that addressed everything from poverty and education to environmental sustainability and mental health. The Lightbearers Initiative continued to train new generations of changemakers, each one carrying forward the principles of faith, compassion, and justice. In time, Fatima and I decided it was time to step back, to allow others to lead while we took on more of an advisory role. It was not an easy decision, but it felt right. We had always known that this work was not ours alone, it belonged to Allah and to the countless individuals who had joined us on this journey. As we transitioned into this new phase of our lives, we found joy in watching the seeds we had planted grow into something far greater than ourselves. One of the most poignant moments of this transition came during a gathering to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Faith in Action. Leaders, volunteers, and beneficiaries from around the world came together to reflect on the impact of the movement and to share their visions for the future. As I stood before the crowd, I felt a deep sense of gratitude, not for any personal accomplishments, but for the way Allah had used my life as a vessel for His will. In my speech, I shared a final reflection with those gathered. The journey of faith is not a straight path. It is a winding road, filled with challenges, detours, and moments of doubt. But it is also a road of beauty, grace, and purpose. Every step we take, no matter how small, brings us closer to Allah and to the person He created us to be. My prayer for all of you is that you continue to walk this path with courage, humility, and a heart full of love for Allah, for His creation, and for one another. As I stepped down from the stage, I was greeted by Amina, now a young woman with dreams and aspirations of her own. She had grown into a kind, intelligent, and compassionate soul, deeply committed to the values Fatima and I had tried to instill in her. She had recently decided to pursue a career in education, inspired by her mother's work and her own desire to make a difference in the world. "Baba," she said, taking my hand, "everything you've done, all of this, it's shown me what it means to live with purpose. I hope I can carry that forward." Her words brought tears to my eyes. "You already are," I told her, my voice thick with emotion. "And you will, inshallah. You are a part of this legacy, just as much as your mother and I. The world needs your light, Amina. Never forget that." In the quieter years that followed, Fatima and I found solace in the simple joys of life. We spent our days in reflection, prayer, and the company of loved ones. Occasionally, we were called upon to share our story or offer guidance, and we approached these opportunities with the same sense of gratitude and humility that had guided us from the beginning. But mostly, we embraced the peace that comes with knowing we had done our part, that we had answered Allah's call to the best of our ability. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky in hues of gold and crimson, Fatima and I sat together on our balcony, watching the world slow down around us. The air was filled with the soft hum of life, children laughing in the distance, the rustling of leaves, the call to prayer echoing from a nearby mosque. It was a moment of perfect stillness, a reminder of the beauty that exists in even the smallest details of creation. "I think about the Miraj often," I said, breaking the silence. "About how it changed everything for me. It feels like a lifetime ago, but the lessons are as vivid now as they were then." Fatima smiled, her eyes reflecting the warmth of the setting sun. "It was the beginning of everything, wasn't it? The moment Allah opened your heart and showed you the path you were meant to walk. And look at where it's led us, look at all the lives He's touched through your journey." "Through our journey," I corrected gently, taking her hand in mine. "I couldn't have done any of this without you, Fatima. You've been my anchor, my compass, and my greatest blessing. Alhamdulillah for you." "And Alhamdulillah for you," she replied, her voice soft but steady. "For the way you've allowed Allah to guide you, for the way you've used your gifts to serve others. This life we've built together, it's more than I ever could have dreamed." As the last rays of sunlight disappeared beyond the horizon, I felt a profound sense of peace settle over me. My journey, though not without its challenges, had been one of immense blessings. From the moment of my accident to the visions of the mirage, from the early days of doubt and struggle to the heights of purpose and fulfillment, every step had been a testament to Allah's mercy and guidance. In the end, I came to understand that my story was never truly mine. It was always part of something much greater. It was a thread in the vast tapestry of Allah's creation, woven with care and precision into a design I could scarcely comprehend. And now, as I prepared to pass the torch to the next generation, I did so with a heart full of gratitude and a soul at peace. For every breath, every moment, every lesson, and every opportunity to serve, I will forever say, Alhamdulillah.